2.
Yes.
Welcome back, WNST, Taos of Baltimore and Baltimore Positive. They sent this out here. John Martin had them on this week. They continue to send my wacky self out to places like Coco's here in Laurelville. We're giving away Raven scratch-offs. Also some instant lottery scratch-offs to give away. Our friends at Window Nation, I got the wacky hat, 866-90-NATION. Buy 2, get 2 free, 0% financing for 5 years. And our friends at Jiffy Lube, Multi-Care, changing oil and more. Get out and get your oil change for the holidays. We've had News American people here. Ricig is here, my co-host with a K at Coco's in Laurelville. Ron Cassie doing overtime here as a senior editor of All Things Baltimore Magazine. Check out the Diners issue and the Winter Wonderland issue coming out soon. Pull a little card out, subscribe, do all the things that, here it is right here. Subscribe and save 80. Am I doing a good job with this?
This is great.
83% to do this. So,
83%.
and keep Ron in business here and take care of the sponsors at Baltimore Magazine. Ron had no problem coming in. So we were going to do some baseball. We've done about an hour and a half of fun stuff. Ricig's finally got a beer, so he's very happy. Got American beer here. So I'm still drinking water right now because I have a story I'm going to tell Marcella. She's going to be upset with me. So whenever she comes on the show, this is our last segment. I want to do baseball with you guys because we've done stadium bitching. We've done downtown. You can come back later. We'll yell about Bramble and Harbor Place and do all because I know you want to do all that. We've done bike lanes. But we all love baseball. We talk about baseball and media and press passes. And I questioned whether Ricig's a real media member or not. And then Ricig had to tell the story about how he almost got Ken Rosenthal killed. So,
apparently on his first day on the job.
First day on the job, poor guy. Like he comes back. I had not even met him yet. And
what was the cartoon?
It was a cartoon about Eddie Murray. It was about, remember, Eddie had kind of a reputation for not getting his uniform dirty. In other words,
that was Stan Charles's.
That was Stan.
Stan Charles's thing. He owns that.
I forgot the cartoon that I did, but it had some twist on that I did, for a recent game that had happened. And Eddie, again, has no access to the sports cartoonist.
Right.
He has access to the sports reporter.
Or the headline writer.
Which is good for you, by the way. Good for you, by the way.
The guys who wrote the headlines were never the writers. So if the headline might have been a little bit tawdry, you heard it. Trust me, you heard it as a writer, as a beat writer.
So Ken comes back to the art department that day and introduces himself. He says, "Hi, I'm the new sports writer here." And I got to tell you, you must have done a cartoon or something. People told me you're the cartoonist. You must have done a cartoon that pissed off Eddie Murray, So he put me up against a locker and said, you tell that cartoonist to stop doing these cartoons or whatever. Something
Eddie Murray jacked up Ken Rosenthal's first day on the job.
Yes, like a mismatch, But
1986.
Eddie's about a foot taller, right? Yeah,
sure.
He was a little shorter than Henneman at the time.
Right, yeah. So that's how I got to meet Ken, and that's.
Well,
you still haven't met Eddie. Right?
Kudos for Ken that he came back for day 2.
I didn't meet Eddie, but when I lived in Cockeysville, Eddie I think was dating someone in my apartment complex, so we would see Eddie come up and
Eddie would appear.
He would appear,
yes.
but I never.
Most famous man in Baltimore.
I've never met Eddie. No. But I that's the closest I've come to meeting Eddie is kind of 6 degrees of
Ricig
rage.
got here in '84, right as Irsay was on the way out. So he's sort of famous for drawing Irsay's face in all sorts of dartboard material.
Oh, right.
They did whole dartboards
and a dummy.
He
famously
is the dummy.
Yeah,
the dummy was his.
I made
all
the
3 of the dummies. 2 of the big ones and the little one.
So he would have been a great target for a cartoonist.
I
mean, perfect.
And I question
he was perfect villain.
There was never any. Peter Angelos was the next best, but Robert Irsay is the greatest cartoon fodder I've had as a sports cartoonist in this town. No doubt about it.
Villain. The villain's villain.
So great. And the dummy was, famous in the town. They had him in parades. They would wire up a wire to his, like a string to his hand, and he'd be in a parade here. They'd use him and they'd put him in the back of a flat, and they'd have someone waving, and people would just throw things at it. Oh
my God, I gotta find a photograph. I have to find a photograph of this.
The real dummy is sitting in Nacho Mama's.
No.
In Canton. The real dummy head is at Nacho
Oh,
Mama's.
I mean, okay, yeah.
The head, the
But
original head,
but the
is
full
in the
dump-
coffin.
I'm going down
At the
there.
front of Nacho Mama's.
I gotta go. I'm
the
going
full
down.
dummy
I
is
didn't
no
see it
longer
last.
in existence.
The
yeah.
little
but I have
dummy-
good photos of it.
Photos, though. You have?
Oh, I'll
All
send
right,
you
all
one.
right,
I'll
all
send
right,
you
all
one.
right.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
photo. Yeah.
You know where you can see the photo of him? And I'll plug Dan Roderick's here, okay? I went to see Roderick's Christmas show last year, and I'm in the front row. And Dan was a mentor to me and a friend. Dan's one of my favorite people. He's doing a show tomorrow, so we'll have a story. But the Ricig picture with the dummy is literally in his show.
Yeah, no,
It's on the screen.
I did not see
took
the show.
a
I'm looking
picture.
forward to
I had
seeing
my
it.
phone. I took a picture
Yeah.
of it, and I sent it to Ricig. I'm like, dude, I'm 3 minutes into Roderick's play, and you're in it.
I am looking forward to seeing that.
You just reminded me. I didn't see Dan's play last year.
Next Friday,
and
you
it
gotta
was sold
come.
out,
You
and
gotta
I've
come.
got to go online if there's
You gotta
tickets
get there.
available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing
I know a guy might be able
I've
to help
got
you
great
next Friday,
reviews.
so,
Great reviews.
All right, so I want to talk baseball with you guys. Eddie Murray being the linchpin to all this. You had an aha moment in the last segment that I've had because I sit here and do this all day, every day, that how happy Mike Elias is to this machine and what they are right now. And Mike Elias has to get down the hallway and ask for money now, right? For something. I don't know what it is. For pitching, for arbitration, for Rutschman, for Henderson, whatever it is, they need to spend more money.
Yeah.
And they can say, well, we will spend more. Well, you can spend $1 more and say you're spending. I mean, I don't believe any of that smokescreen. I want to see what they're doing. But other organizations, front-facing, when you're trying to recruit your fans, you win 101 games, they should be in the news every day here talking about doing something, even if they're not doing something, to whet our appetite.
Well, even before last year, Forbes had them at like the 8th most profitable franchise in baseball year over year. So that was before attendance went up, must have gone up 30% last year. I mean, they were on that track, right?
But what does that mean for season ticket sales? What does that mean for club boxes? What does that mean for sponsorship sales? They're looking for a new sponsorship person. I saw that on Ray Namoli's LinkedIn. I mean, like, keeping employees there and keeping employees happy now they have this growth, and keeping the baseball genius happy and his system happy. Because they're not going to pick 1-1 anymore, right? Not for a little while anymore,
No,
right? Right. I mean, Mike Elias is never going to pick 1-1 here. He won't live long enough here to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the most amazing string of draft picks that I can almost ever recall in any sport. I mean, it's just, it's almost back-to-back rookies of the year, right? I mean, Adley, if he came up earlier, probably would have got it last year.
Holiday's coming up next year.
Holiday's on, it's amazing. And I don't know. I'm hoping that Mike Elias is from Alexandria, Virginia. I'm hoping that maybe he's close by. Like, that's why he wants to be here. Because
that's a good point.
I think he could go anywhere he wants at this point.
Right. And at what point during his first
the Red
contract
Sox
does John Angelos make it attractive enough for him to sign a second contract? Like, literally, at what point does that happen? And at what point does he say, I'm really happy here, and I have, for Mike Elias, I have everything I need to be successful running the ball. The one thing, you don't have money, you're never going to have money, right? Against the Yankees, you're never going to run that kind of operation, right? But you have to be so strategic with every nickel that's spent that it has to be well spent, because the draft's not going to help you in the same way it did when you stunk, right? Like a good football team, right? Or like when the Ravens give money to Joe Flacco, they give money to Lamar Jackson. They have to be that much more shrewd about what they do or don't do.
Don't forget that they had a lot of first-round picks before Mike Elias came because they were bad then, and they didn't do well with those. So, just having a first-round pick doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You have to have the guy there that makes the right calls on these first-round picks and second-round picks.
Yeah.
So, and he's done that since he's been here.
I think Oriole fans would be satisfied if the payroll got it somewhere into the middle of the pack would be enormous if we weren't the lowest, the next to lowest, right?
But to your point to the last segment, do the fans have any expectation or care at all?
I
mean, if they roll the ball out there and they don't do anything this offseason, you would they're going to win 90 games, and so they don't replace Kyle Gibson, and they talk about John Means, or they talk about whatever the next thing is. That'll be good enough here. I mean, the fans aren't even talking about the baseball team right now.
I
they
think
don't have a lease, Ron.
I think if the Orioles are competitive, fans will go. We've seen that. The attendance, fell off the map. Bucks last year, they got rid of everybody. And the Orioles were just not competitive. I mean, you're losing essentially 100 games 3 times. If the Orioles are competitive, fans will turn out. But I mean, I follow Orioles fans on social media a lot, and I think everybody was expecting, a pitcher, or two. I mean, a back of the bullpen guy we need.
Yes.
Batista's out, and I think people really are expecting it. They're looking at
But why
signing.
can't you sign Blake Snell? Why can't
There's
you?
word about they're getting somebody from
Why
Japan.
can't you
who's supposed to be
shop on
pretty
the
good.
top shelf for a change, right? Like they've never shopped on the top shelf because small market money. We're not built to win. We're not ready to win. I mean, they have their own top shelf with Henderson and Rutschman that they're going to have to pay top shelf
certainly
price
they could.
on
I mean,
that.
traditionally, right, with sports franchises, owners have been often happy to break even because the value of the franchise goes up so dramatically over every 5 or 10 years that you're making enormous. When you sell a team, you're going to make a fortune. So even if you're just breaking even, but the Orioles are one of the most profitable teams in the game, and not to spend money for a frontline starter, for a back of the bullpen guy, I think will leave fans disappointed. Everybody's going to turn out because we want to see this young lineup. We want to see if they can, win the AL East again and be competitive.
I'm going to give you a line that came to me from the late, great Mike Flanagan, who I loved and was my friend. Told me that Andy McPhail once said to him, "Why feed him steak when they'll eat hamburger?" That one sticks with me.
I would say this. I
Yeah.
think everyone would be talking about the Orioles right now, except for we have a 9-3 football team, and so that's kind of in the forefront of sports
Sure.
right now.
Well, the Orioles haven't made a single move.
The
at
Orioles
the
haven't
same
given us
time.
anything to talk about.
I
I
mean,
mean,
the same move.
Not a lot of teams have made moves so far. I mean, it's still pretty early in that game, but I do think everyone would be talking about them and talking about the fact that we haven't made a move if it wasn't for the fact that we are
I don't want to
have the
jinx
best
anything, but
record,
we have a
best
chance to
record
win.
in football in the
If
AFC
both
right
teams
now.
could win their divisions, that's a pretty good year for the
That would
city.
be a hell
That's
of a
pretty.
that'd be a
Well,
hell
But
of
that
the
is-
hamburger steak thing is pretty on point when it comes to Orioles concessions. I mean, I think fans have been pretty disappointed with the performance and the offerings at the concession. I think the Orioles do need to upgrade their game there.
Oh,
at Camden
really?
Yard.
I see.
That's
You are
interesting,
reading
yeah.
different. See, I this is one of the things about me being, and I'll take my Window Nation hat off here just for a minute. I realize why John hates me personally so much through all this, but I've done a lot of soul searching in this. I mean, I'm 55 now. I've owned the station 25 years. When I really think about this, and you said sports radio about an hour ago, Ricig, about the lightning rod of criticism and Eddie Murray doesn't slide, or, this quarterback's black, this quarterback's white. I've dealt with that for Banks and Gerbeck 23 years ago, right? Like all of the things that are awful about sports radio or about opinions of all of that, I would just say that there is a point where the conversation, that they need to be a part of that conversation, not on the outside of that conversation. So the fact that the Ravens are relevant, 9-3, there's space for the Orioles. I mean, there's plenty.
No,
and
great point.
they need to jump in and
great
own
point.
that space and be well run and have a winter carnival and have a lease and have good relationships with media members they like and media members they don't like.
Right.
And there's a point where you wonder if they can grow up.
Right, in New York sports radio, there's room for all of that. You know what I mean? And they don't even have good teams. They have bad teams. Bad football
Well, the
teams,
thing that made
bad
me
baseball
so
teams,
unpopular, the thing that
but
made
they
me
still
so
talk all of it.
unpopular with them was people would have a bad experience with the Orioles. And I'm talking like a long time ago. I'm talking like I started the station in 1998. I've been doing this a long time. I'm talking like 02, 03, 04, when things really got bad, right? Like when Angelos was really running it, Messina's gone,
Right.
John Miller's gone, Davey, like all that's over with, right?
Brutal
and they're
stretch.
going.
Brutal stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they were going to lose 12 years in a row, right? And the Ravens had just won the Super Bowl, and we're in Billick land. Ray Lewis is dancing. They're relevant every year, right? All that's going on. When people would call my radio station all day long in the summer was, "Nasty, what's wrong with the Orioles? I went to the game the other night and saw a cockroach. I went to the other night and they don't do this. And I didn't park it. And they can't do that. And there was nothing good to say about them ever. And I became their complaint department, right? Like, literally, you couldn't call them and bitch because they didn't care. You couldn't call Peter and say, please fix this. You couldn't, there's to this day, call TJ Brightman and ask him to do, seriously, call him in with a complaint and see where you get with it, right? I would just say my radio station became the complaint department for them that, like Twitter is.
Yeah.
You know, you're pissed at Southwest Airlines. They lost your bag. You yell on Twitter. You know what I mean?
Tag
like,
'em, yeah.
you tag them, get them. Delta Airlines,
Yeah.
you screwed me, you know? Like, that's what my radio station was before there was an internet. And there was this perception that I was negative. No, you're giving the fans a rough ride. And when they're calling me about your team losing, your owner being obstinate, firing people, like all of these bad things, and you've even brought it to the concessions, which is new to me. Because, like, to me, I wouldn't pay $14 for nachos no matter what. So I don't care if they're best nachos and it could taste like pumpkin pie to me. I wouldn't pay. But there's so many things people can complain about, and I think with the Orioles, there's no complaint department. There's no department that you go to where you feel like they mistreat their broadcaster. They put their broadcaster in timeout and tried to hide it and had everyone around him still to this day lie about it. Ben McDonald, none of them are allowed to talk about it because they'll lose their job.
Right.
And that sits underneath of 101 wins and the lease issue and the bad vibes and the fake thing that they did with the governor saying we have an agreement, applaud for us, and it's fake. I mean, I would have said to Wes Moore, and I did pull him up at the Crab Feast, he's going to embarrass you. He's going to embarrass you. Like that's what I should have said to Wes Moore. Because if you lay down with them, eventually you wake up with Kevin Brown, you know, and that's modern and that's recent. And they need to get away from that. And I don't know what other than new ownership can do that.
You know, it's
and the complaint department for them, to your point, you read people bitching about the food on Twitter. I'm just trying to get free agency.
I think if you were at the ballpark this year, like an opening day, I'm like you. I would tend to buy some peanuts and a soda and bring it in with me, and because I don't want to miss the game being in line. And people were waiting for a beer, miss 2 innings.
Meanwhile, I go to the Kiss concert tonight, and it's like Royal Farms.
But
you pick it up, and you swipe your credit card, and you
I
take
would
your
say
beer.
this. I think the point about the Ravens, definitely football is a very, seasonal sport, right? Obviously, it's a seasonal sport.
Yeah.
The thing about baseball is that it's every day. The box scores are there every day. We can talk about it. We can bitch about it. We can celebrate. And you also have baseball is one of those things where fans, average fans, you go to a bar, you sit next to a guy and a girl, like they're talking about who's in the minor leagues coming up. They know in Baltimore. They know who's at Bowie, who's at Aberdeen. They know who their draft picks are.
I agree with
like
that.
all of this is conversation that is on a different level than other sports. Right? You're not talking, and you can go, the baseball season around the country, let's be honest, it's not just peculiar to Baltimore. You can go to a bar and they'll be talking, they're lulled in the action about what somebody did in AAA, who's coming up, who they need to move. And it's remarkable that Baltimore is ingrained into the fabric of the city, the conversation through the spring, summer, and into the early fall in a way that's really unique with obviously 30 spring training games, 162 regular season games, minor league, the draft. It's something that you can talk about like every single day. It's a little different than football, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. And the hardcore baseball fans will talk that.
And this is why there's an affection for Camden Yards and for the Orioles that even survives. What was it, 12 or 14 straight losing years? Even survives 100-year losses. Like they put a good product in the field last year. Attendance went up. Well, they put a great product in the field. Attendance soared this year. And
they moved the fence back under the guys that we're going to use that to attract pitchers, right? We're going to be able to sign a pitcher.
How about that the Orioles are making the taxpayers pay for that moving the fence back? The Orioles.
Oh, of course.
The cost of the Orioles, like 3.5. Pamela Wood, give her a shout out to the Baltimore Banner. Did a nice piece like a month ago on the MSA, the Maryland Stadium Authority
Who
stuff.
paid for that wall? You paid
for that wall.
I didn't
know it. Was $3.5 million to move it back.
Yeah. And we still can't get a pitcher.
And the Orioles cut a deal to deduct that from their rent.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wow.
I mean, that's
slippery.
Wow.
I think the average fan would be like, look, if it got us to 100 wins in first place, okay, that's worth it. But it's those kind of, there's like the minutiae, the details, the nickel and diming of the fans. This is where people would come up with concessions and stuff like that. Not just the quality, but how there's no concessions open on the upper deck or whatever. The long waits. Things
I
like
buy
that.
from Clancy. My beer's always cold.
I have a great. I live
best.
close enough that like I ride my bike over, I grab some peanuts and a bottle of water, or something, and go in. I have a great experience. I have a great relationship with the the Orioles communications people, around the playoffs was great this year.
Tell them I'm not as bad as they say. Let them know I'm not a bad guy.
I think they have. I mean, they've been blessed from Chuck Thompson, John Miller to Kevin Brown. I think Ben McDonald and Jim Palmer are both great. I think they've been really fortunate to have great announcers.
Ben McDonald's great.
I enjoy Ben,
and I love Ben when he's. I mean, I've known Ben forever. I got to see him down in Arlington, catch up with him. But I love Ben. I tweeted at Ben from the bar here tonight because LSU's playing. That is
we
part
gave
of
him
it.
a Best of Baltimore award the
Part
first
of
year
growing up here, and Ricig can speak to that coming here, is that because I would come over to your house, you'd have John Miller, Chuck Thompson on your porch. It was a companion. The announcers are companions to the sport. They're your eyes, your windows to the sport, and that's why they can't be compromised.
That's what the blow up with, not to keep going back to about Kevin Brown, who did nothing last year to get suspended, and then this cover you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has an affection for the great job, the prepreration he does. He's a fun listen. Great with Ben McDonald and Jim Palmer.
Loves Blink 182.
Right, loves Blink 182. But, to just bully somebody in that way for no reason, to get that wrong, you start to wonder about everything else.
That's what I worry about. So Ron Cassie's here. He's one of the smart guys. He's at Baltimore Magazine. We've seen your executive editor. And Ricig, you had something you wanted to say.
I just wanted to say, and we were talking about, how ownerships kind of ignore journalism. Let's not forget that back in the day, Peter Angelos, and John Miller, did not bleed Oriole blue.
That was it. He didn't bleed enough black and orange. He didn't
bleed orange enough and was gone.
He said it on my airwaves, by the way. He didn't bleed enough orange and black.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back that far, further probably, but I'm just saying, in recent memory, Peter Angelos tried to control the whole thing too, so I don't know.
I just want to see better leadership, Ron. That's all. I mean, you want to ask for $5 billion. We'll give it to you if you got a $5 billion idea. You know what I mean? I'm not against them getting money. I'm not against I want to see an idea. What's the great idea that's going to make that area relevant enough for the taxpayers to give a couple of $1 billion to billionaires?
Well, so far I'm happy that, as a taxpayer, whatever, that the state legislators have not caved in, that like $600 million is enough, right? They're likely not going to have to pay any rent, get the same deal rate. I mean, that's a pretty sweet deal. If you're going to talk about developing state-owned property, that stuff, the city needs to be involved
in that, right? Put some skin in the game.
And the city, whatever Bramble brings together for Harbor Place to connect these a little bit, they're going to have to run those architectural designs through city planning commissions. It's not clear that the Camden Warehouse and the train station, all that kind of development, that if on state-owned land, that the city of Baltimore would have oversight over those architectural plans because it's state property, right? So you can't avoid that democratic process of having the citizens of Baltimore's elected representatives, that people have a chance to look at those architectural plans, weigh in, and do all the kind of normal process.
Well, the city council did that last week, right? With the Bramble plan, right?
Right. They pushed back a little bit, right? And that's going to be an ongoing process. But that process that you're seeing would not happen necessarily. I don't think it would happen if you hand over the state-owned land to John Angelos
and
to
develop the stadium authority.
Because it's state land, and conceivably the city would not have impact in the planning process they do with Harbor Place, which they, of course, should have that kind of that plan. Should be transparent. The city should have oversight over that.
Well, I've spoken like a true journalist. Baltimore Magazine, what do you love about it? Tell people why they need to get Baltimore Magazine. Other than Max is awesome.
I'll tell you what, Max is awesome. Our editor-in-chief is awesome. Amy Sattergood, one of our editors, did an amazing piece. You have to read the little intros to the diners and a little bit of the history and context of Baltimore diners.
I'm going to look at them and see how many I've eaten and how many I haven't, because you mentioned one I haven't, right?
Lost in the 50s.
Oh, you're from Dundalk. You know about diners, the Boulevard, the Broadway Diner,
absolutely.
Of course. Sip and Bite. I mean, there's a lot of
iconic. Oh, my God. Now, talking about the News American, that's a place the News American sports staff gathered at.
Cheesesteaks at 2 a.m.
Late at, and
it was open.
And talk professional wrestling, man. Like,
always.
That's great.
Next time on our show, we'll discuss Scrapple. Is it food or is it evil?
Listen, man, it's Baltimore, that's for sure.
very
Man, I had
Baltimore.
a knockdown drag out at Fadley's 3 weeks ago with Matt Campbell, who runs the Baltimore Convention Center, and Bill Cole over deviled eggs. We went.
Oh.
I love deviled eggs.
Oh, gross.
I love deviled eggs.
You in on them or out?
I mean, I'm kind of in the middle of you guys on it. You know, like I'll eat them when they're at a party, but it's not my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's the last thing I'm going to
Yeah.
eat.
Speaking of
Is that,
diners,
is that a Baltimore thing, a deviled egg?
No,
okay.
but
All
it's
right.
a picnic thing. when you put crab on it, it's a Baltimore thing. You
Okay,
know,
right.
So that's what they
I
do.
don't- I prefer those. I
and they
prefer
put the
those,
Old Bay and stuff on.
I prefer that. Yeah.
Come to Coco's, get a crab cake. Sell off those deviled eggs. We don't need any of that.
Coco's rocks, man.
All right. It is my co-host with a K, Mike Ricigliano, better known as Ricig by his wife, his kids, and everyone else. By the way, I didn't get to meet your grandchildren. You have twins.
I'm so sorry we didn't make that connection. You know, like
I feel like such a jerk. I was having burgers here with my wife last week, and I had the episode that I got to tell Mars about. But you know, happy holidays to you. It's
Yeah,
good to see you.
happy. Oh, it's the greatest, and I'm looking forward to my night out with you guys and seeing Dan.
I'm gonna try to.
and seeing the Ursay.
I got to get Cassie over to the Roderick show. You really need to see that, man.
Yeah, 100%.
No, it was
I know.
great,
got
great, great.
unbelievable reviews.
Great,
yeah, I
great,
really wanna
great.
see
Like
it,
great
yeah.
beyond.
Yeah,
Like when I saw it that night, all I thought about was everyone I know who loves Baltimore who didn't get to see it, and I thought I'm going to gather. That's why I'm doing this holiday thing. I thought Ricig needs to be at this year, and I don't just need to make this small.
So excited to come.
So
Yeah.
Roderick and I are getting together. We're going to be at the BMA at Gertrude's on Thursday with Dan. So if you hear him or John Shields or Odette Ramos, that's happening. Tom Kelso on Friday at Hollywood Casino in Perryville. Also, the whole crew up there is coming out in Perryville. Big appreciation for all they do. My picks suck right now. I'm in such a slump.
Oh, I'm
my
bad
God.
this year,
in the
man.
last 4 weeks. I was 24 over 500 at one point. I'm down to 2 over 500 right now. And the Ravens don't even play this week. Next week we'll be at State Fair on Tuesday. I think that's it. Our friends at Window Nation. I'm going to come back here to Coco's and wrap things up. But go
Can
ahead.
I ask about what you think, who you think the Ravens' biggest competition will be?
Kansas
to win a
City. Kansas City.
Okay.
Kansas City, for sure.
I mean, in a Super Bowl, too, I'm saying, you know.
Wouldn't a Baltimore-Philadelphia
Yeah,
Super Bowl be really
Yeah.
like I think
Yeah.
about losing that, and I don't think that would go. You know what I mean?
Why?
Like,
We beat the Phillies
and
in
well,
83,
I know,
you
and let's keep it that way.
You
You know,
know.
I don't need when Rocky, Apollo Creed ain't going to be no rematch. No rematch, you know? I mean, come on now.
That'd be a hell of a game.
It would
I'll
be.
just say this
I
over-
love Philadelphia fans. I got to
I
admit.
do love Philly fans,
I
too,
love
yeah.
Philly fans.
And I've been to games with Nestor up in Philly. So, you know, like I love Philly as a sports
I
place.
went to a New York Mets Phillies game this summer, and people were tailgating like a football game. I mean, that's what the fans were like outside.
Oh, yeah,
People weren't
sick.
even going
I've
to the
never
park. They
ever
got
heard
on their.
anybody say I love Philly fans. I mean, that's new.
They're off the wall. They're wild,
You
man.
like
They're-
characters.
Yeah, you like
Come on, they
characters.
grease
yeah.
the poles.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
come on,
yeah.
it's Philly.
They used to have a jail on the bottom of Veterans Stadium.
That skinny guy with all the tattoos on him. You've seen that?
Yeah,
He's got the fanatic in his navel
Right.
with the horn. Yeah, I've seen that guy.
Come on, it'd be great. Let's hope for it because
Do
that
what
means
I
we got
do.
to the Super Bowl.
Get in there, get a cheesesteak, get a pretzel, get the hell out.
I'm
That's
just
what
saying.
that's what you do.
I'm
Philly.
saying Kansas City. Who else is in the AFC?
Well, it's not the Bills.
It's certainly
I
not
would
the
love
Bills.
to see the
Bengals.
Ravens
Bills
beat
will
the.
never get
if
there.
the Ravens met the Cowboys and beat the Cowboys, that would be my dream scenario because I hate the
me
Cowboys
too.
so much.
I hate them too, Ron.
That
I
would be
hate those guys
fantastic.
the most.
Yeah.
I hate everything about that.
Other than the Dolphins, because
I think Philadelphia and Baltimore maybe a little more in common up 95. I think Dallas is the opposite
Go.
of Baltimore.
So what you really want to see is Dallas beat Philadelphia and drive them crazy in a championship game. That
would be fun.
That would really
would be
piss the
fun.
Eagles fans off. That'd be great.
That would be
I
fun.
hate the Cowboys though. I can never wish anything good on Jerry Jones. All right, we're gonna take a break. Come back. I'm at Coco's. I don't know. Mars, are you doing a show? Who's doing a show?
Marcy, you should get up
Mars,
here.
you doing a show? You doing a show? I have a really bad story I got to tell you when you come back over here.
All right.
You were here last week. We had a fiasco, and I'm going to tell – my wife's like, you're not going to tell Mars that's – I'm like, I got to tell her. I'm doing the show today. So
Yeah,
that's my teaser for it. All I'm saying is we're taking crab cakes home for dinner tonight because I got to make things right. I got things I got to fix. That's
right,
all I'm
okay.
saying.
All right.
I am not going to the Kiss concert at CFG Bank Arena, but I do have my Kiss belt buckle here. And you can hear my exclusive, because we always say that in media. I mean, other people have sat and had dinner with Paul Stanley. I'm not the only one, but I was the only one that night, 1990, in Dulles Hyatt. Paul Stanley said, Hey, Nestor, just come back to my suite after the show, man. I'll give you an interview. We'll sit down. We'll talk all night.
You've had a nice run. Paul Stanley, John Waters. You've had a nice run here, Ness.
Well, Paul Stanley happened in July 11th, 1991.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm glad you got John Waters on. He's such a great guy. Yeah.
I meant to ask you before you leave. The last time you came on, you had that amazing night where Brooks was there with Barbara Mikulski.
Yeah.
You did that cover shot.
Yeah.
Do you remember the cover of last year?
January.
It was all these iconic. It was
Yes.
Barbara Mikulski,
Yes.
Brooks, Carla Hayden, Joyce Scott, Kurt Schmoke, and John Waters. Yeah, it was an amazing group of
John Waters was there too, right? Yeah, I remember
Got to
that.
hang out with Brooks. And the funny thing was, all those people, Barbara Mikulski, John Waters, they all wanted Brooks Robinson's autograph.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's the most humble guy of all. John
course.
Waters got 2 autographs from Brooks. I mean, that's, trying to find something for him to sign.
Yes, right.
Really great day.
That's a neat experience you had.
That
man.
is, yeah.
And it gives me a chance to talk about Brooks. To Brooks, we haven't had we're social to Brooks, man, because we lost Brooks since last time I got
Oh,
this,
yes,
man.
here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. For the holidays, man. Number 5.
Brooks,
All right.
Brooks,
I'm going
love
to come
you.
back. I'm going to tell the worst story I have on in the history of the Crab Cake Tour.
All right.
When I come back.
Good being with you guys.
I'm at Coco's. I love Ricig. I love Ron Cassie. Go see Dan Roderick's show. Subscribe to Baltimore Magazine. I pulled the card out. Save 83%. Get off the cover price. Get 12 issues for just $14.97. So you go to Rofo, go over to the magazine, shake the magazine, and get this out and subscribe. And then, is that good advice?
12 issues for $10, the holiday sale.
Wow, I got to jump on that.
For faster service, visit bmag.co/news sub. There it is right there. Max, I love you. I miss you. I'm not Baltimore's best, but I'm pretty good. And I appreciate I got to give her a kick, man. Come on. I got to give her one little kick.
I wrote to her and asked her
it.
for restaurant advice for our anniversary, too. So, I mean, and I had just
there
met
you
her,
go.
but she
There
was
you go.
great. She
I
wrote
have
back
access
me.
to our food editors, so that's great for special occasions.
I have a text thread here with Max, okay? I invited her to the Talking Heads show. This is the last thing. She's got all this. I actually think concert film is the best use of that technology. That's Max's. But she couldn't do it. It was a bad week. She was deadline on the November issue.
There you go.
Is this November issue, December issue?
Yeah.
So she couldn't do it. So anyway.
Right.
Max, you missed out.
I'm glad I did. That's all I'll say.
All I have to say to you, Max, is All right. Psycho Killer's back from Coco. Stay with us.
All right.